Okay, there's people that have struggled with this quadrilateral quiz, so I wanted to make a video specifically for those people. First thing is when you go to your Google Classroom, I would find this Polygon worksheet notes. I think that'll help out. And when you click on that, you'll get this. And I think that will help you with your quiz. Now, I'm going to go over the one that you did in class. Then after that, then I'll send you a new one. So make sure you have this open when you redo that quiz. Okay, so let's go over this quiz real quick. All right, right here, this one. I think if you look at it, I think like all three of these, we should agree that that is a rhombus. So again, if you need to go back to this worksheet, what should be on the back of this, if you were in class, was a picture of the worksheet. The pictures that go with it. VIP kids, you probably didn't get this part of it. But rhombus, but you did get, if you go back to your Google Classroom, you did, and you should have done some Desmos and stuff like that, and these Khan Academies that should give you a pretty good idea of what the actual pictures of things would look like. So when you did this Desmos and you had to sort them together, I actually put a link or posted something that actually had the correct answer. So this would be a rhombus. So if it was just that, then you would pick rhombus. But you see where it basically says check all that apply. So if I go to my worksheet here, rhombus is right here, this rhombus bubble. So this rhombus bubble is in this parallelogram bubble, which is in the quadrilateral bubble. Okay, so the answer would be rhombus, and because the rhombus is a parallelogram and a parallelogram is a quadrilateral, it would be all three of those. So that's why this would be your answer. All right, so square rhombus, I think people are getting confused, and I'll try to explain it later. In no way is that a square. Square is four equal sides, but also four right angles, so that would not be right. So if it's not a square, if it doesn't tell you with those boxes in the corner, then those are not 90 degrees. So if it doesn't have boxes, then that would be a rhombus. Okay, right here. Nothing, there's no marks, no arcs, no nothing with this. So what you should have, that's just a quadrilateral. It's just four sides. Now, definition of trapezoid, again, go back to your Desmos. That should be listed on there. One side, a pair of sides would be parallel. Well, to denote parallel, they have those arrows, or some people call them triangles. And this doesn't have anything. Plus, if you really kind of look at it, none of these look parallel. So trapezoid should not make any sense. Parallelogram has two pair of parallel sides. And rhombus, we just saw a picture of rhombus, so that's not it. That is just a quadrilateral. Okay, this one. If you take a look at your worksheet, again, it would be on the back. So VIP people, you wouldn't have this on the back, but that diagram would be a rectangle. So again, the rectangle bubble, I know it has square in it, but a square is not a rectangle. Or sorry, a rectangle is not a square. So this rectangle bubble is in the parallelogram bubble, which is in the big quadrilateral bubble. So that's why it would be quadrilateral, parallelogram, and rectangle. Okay, so just look at your worksheet to help you out with that. We'll just keep going here. That's the one we just did. Okay, now this goes back to your overlapping. I think this is what's confusing some people. The overlapping in the diagram, what it's saying is square. If you just take the rhombus bubble there's a square in that rhombus bubble. It is a rhombus bubble that has a square in it. So that means a square is a rhombus. But in this diagram, there is no square bubble. So it's not like a rhombus is a square. That goes back to the first question. Okay, so to fill this out, a square is always a rhombus, so a rhombus is not always a square. Okay, parallelogram, rhombus, square, rectangle, rhombus are always parallelograms because they always have two opposite sides parallel. Okay, so hopefully this is helping. Again, if you don't have the back side of the notes, you can still do it. It just makes it a little bit more difficult. So this says if a quadrilateral has 4 equal sides and it's a square. Is that always true? No, because the very first question we did on this had 4 equal sides, and that was a rhombus. So the fact a rhombus has 4 equal sides makes that a false statement. Trapezoid, exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. That is true. That is the definition of trapezoid. Okay, and again, if you have this, it actually has it right here, 1 pair of parallel sides, right here in your little trapezoid bubble. Okay. A blank is a quadrilateral with 2 sides of parallel. All right, now here's where definitions I think are confusing people. So let's go over this because these next 3 questions, actually next 4, are all about definitions. What's important that you understand the difference between a rhombus, square, and rectangle. Okay, this diagram says a square is a rhombus and a square is also in the rectangle bubble. But the definitions are important. So the definition right here is 4 congruent sides. A square does have 4 congruent sides, but the definition that goes with 4 congruent sides is a rhombus. All right, so let's go over these other ones. Okay, number 8 here, it's a quadrilateral with 2 sets of parallel sides. So what that tells you, if you just stop there, that tells you it's a parallelogram. So in your diagram, right, parallelogram, it's got to be a square, rectangle, or rhombus. So as soon as you see that, parallelogram, square, rectangle, rhombus. So of square, rectangle, and rhombus, which one has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides? So that's a square. Number 9 says the same thing in the quadrilateral with 2 sets of parallel sides. That means square, rectangle, rhombus, and 4 congruent sides. A square does have 4 congruent sides, but the definition would be just a rhombus. So here's, if you have the diagram, if you want to highlight, you can highlight. But rhombus, 4 congruent sides, that would be the definition of rhombus, along with everything that goes with parallelograms, like all these 5 bullets. Definition of rectangles, 4 right angles. Definition of square is both of those, because you see square is in the rectangle bubble and it's also in the rhombus bubble. So a square is going to have 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. So understand the difference between those 3 definitions. And then the last one here, a blank is a quadrilateral, 2 sets of parallel sides. That's a parallelogram. It's good to see everybody got that. All right, but the ones that I think most people had trouble with were these 3 definitions, 7, 8, and 9. Difference between parallelogram or square, rectangle, and rhombus, the definitions. That and the number 1 up here that asks you to identify them all. So you got to make sure, again, have this handy, whether if you're in class, I gave you a copy. If you're VIP, find it in Google Classroom, so that can help you. All right, watch this video to hopefully help you out. And then I'm going to send a redo so everybody can do that didn't do so hot on it. All right, hopefully this helps.